Welcome back everyone. We're going to be doing another comparison this time around between two phones that I honestly probably was never going to compare just because I never bought the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra until now, but it really doesn't matter. It is what it is. Now we're going to be comparing the S20 Ultra to the OnePlus 8 Pro and seeing which one is the better value per dollar and which one you should pick up. Now there are strong reasons to pick up both of these phones, which I'll be completely honest. The S20 Ultra might be the better way to go for the time being, but the OnePlus 8 Pro, for the price that it is for $899 for the base model, and also for a ton of other things too, the OnePlus 8 Pro is also a compelling device as well. So I'll go ahead and start off with the price tag between them. For sure, the S20 Ultra is the more expensive phone, but the price has actually decreased quite a bit, where used OnePlus 8 Pros or just OnePlus 8 Pros being sold on the used market have actually gone up, which is kind of weird because, they keep being sold out. But with the S20 Ultra, I truly believe that it is kind of, super expensive, and I was messing with it and going from an S20 or even S20 Plus to the S20 Ultra, I really couldn't find any crazy differences. I know there are some. I was pretty shocked to see that there were a lot of similarities, which is not a bad thing. The S20 Ultra is still a really good phone, but the OnePlus 8 Pro, going from the standard OnePlus 8, I think there are probably more differences there than going from an S20 Plus to an S20 Ultra, for example. So price tag wise, the OnePlus 8 Pro I think is the better value per dollar, but the Galaxy S20 Ultra I think might be, a better phone just because of the things that it has inside of it. So if you want to pick either of these phones up, I will find the cheapest ones on Amazon. I'll link them down in the description below so you guys can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now starting off with the front, they're both pretty big phones. They're not small phones by any means. The OnePlus 8 Pro has a 6.78-inch Fluid AMOLED display. It is 1440p, and I think it's a pretty good panel. You know what I mean? You have the hole punch display in the top left corner. You have a little tiny bezels on the bottom and top, but other than that, it's almost completely bezel-less. So it looks very, very good. Every time I did anything with it, the colors looked very good as well. And, even the OnePlus 8 had a really good panel for being at 1080p, and this one is that much better. A really cool thing about this panel though is that you do have that 120Hz refresh rate on that OLED display, which is extremely important. I think that's one of the coolest things ever, and for sure at the end of the day, when you're getting a phone like a OnePlus 8 Pro, having those type of features at that type of price tag is really, really cool. And I'm not trying to say the OnePlus 8 Pro is a cheap phone by any means, but it's still a really cool thing that you have that capability for sure. Where the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra has a 6.9-inch dynamic AMOLED display. This phone is 1440p as well. The PPI surprisingly is a little bit lower than the OnePlus 8 Pros, which is surprising, but I feel like the OnePlus 8 Pro has a good panel, but the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra's panel is probably the better one when it comes down to it. You still have that 120Hz refresh rate, which is really cool, but I think at the end of the day, when I'm looking at both phones and I'm using both phones, the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, I truly believe, does have the better display at the end of the day, but the OnePlus 8 Pro's panel is still really good as well. The viewing angles on both are really good too, but I just would probably give the edge to the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra when it comes down to it for the front. They both have IP certification as well. The OnePlus 8 Pro has IP68 dust and water resistance and the same exact resistance for the Galaxy S20 Ultra as well. So not too many crazy changes there, which I'm really happy about. On the bottom, USB Type-C ports on both. And on the back, there's quite a bit of different setups between both of them. So I guess you kind of have quadruple camera setups on both, which I'll get into in a second. And I have a lot of opinions to say on both of these types of cameras. So once that happens, I'll get into it. But another huge advantage for the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra is that you do have that microSD card slot, which is really awesome. You don't really have that capability on the OnePlus 8 Pro, and I don't think you've ever had that capability on any OnePlus phone besides the OnePlus X, I think. So for sure, when it comes down to it, the Galaxy S20 Ultra does kind of win there when it happens. And when you're feeling both of them in the hand, I truly do believe that the S20 Ultra probably feels more premium and feels just like it has a little bit more durability to it. But I do like the matte finish on the OnePlus 8 Pro, the matte glass back, which feels just like the 11 Pros and 11 Pro Maxes. It definitely does feel pretty good in my opinion. So in terms of the outside, that really pretty much covers it up for the most part. Now hitting on the software, most probably, okay, they're both starting on Android 10. We already know that. One UI 2 on the S20 Ultra, but I probably would say that the OnePlus 8 Pro has my heart when it comes down to the software. Even though they're both on the same exact software versions, I personally do like Oxygen OS more than I like One UI. I feel like it's super minimal. It's just not in your face and like super weird and clunky like One UI is. And I'm not trying to say One UI is bad. I think One UI 2 is, a little bit better than One UI 1, but I still think Samsung has a long way to go, and the stock software approach that the OnePlus has done is extremely good, and I think it's one of its strongest assets for sure. In terms of longevity, I still kind of think that the OnePlus 8 Pro might outlast the S20 Ultra when it comes down to it, so that's another big kind of thing right there. Again, I don't know for 100% fact, but I would probably tell you that the S20 Ultra is going to last for probably another 2 versions of Android unless Samsung does and changes something different, but the OnePlus 8 Pro will probably outlast the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra when it comes down to it. So in terms of software, that really pretty much covers it. Now hitting on the performance, they both have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset, both have octa-core CPUs, both have Adreno 650 GPUs. Now the RAM is a little bit different. So the OnePlus 8 Pro, that base model, has 8 gigs of RAM and a top tier model with 12 gigs of RAM, where the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra only has one model, the 12 gig of RAM option. So if you're getting the top tier models, and they both have this, same amount of RAM, but if you're getting the base model of the OnePlus 8 Pro, you're getting a lower amount of RAM than the only one model of the S20 Ultra. So kind of keep that in mind. It's not going to change anybody's religion or anything. It's not a crazy thing, but that is something to consider at the end of the day. So when it comes down to the performance, I think both phones are extremely good performing phones. And, when I was using them, whenever I was doing anything with them, the OnePlus 8 Pro, I'll just start there, that was an extremely good phone. Every time I did anything with it, it was fast. The games ran extremely smooth. Even multitasking, I had the base model too. Multitasking, all those different things, it was perfectly fine. It's not a slow phone by any means, and I don't think anybody's sitting here saying that. I think the OnePlus 8 Pro, for even the price, it's a very good performing phone, and really there's nothing I can say about it that was bad. Maybe it was like a little glitchy here and there, maybe even like once in a while, but other than that, it was extremely smooth experience. And the same exact thing can be said with the S20 Ultra. And I think when you're comparing two phones that have almost the same exact things besides the RAM, it's really hard to find differences. So if you're getting the top model of the OnePlus 8 Pro, you're definitely going to be getting a great performing phone, and I think both of these are probably the same exact performing. Like, you're not going to find one that is way better performing than the other one. So this is definitely a side grade when it comes down to the whole entire performance standpoint. And what I mean by that is I wouldn't go and upgrade from the OnePlus 8 Pro to a S20 Ultra or vice versa, just based off the performance. There's other things to worry about between these two that I would go and upgrade to or from one phone to the other, but the performance is definitely not one of them. So the performance of both these phones, I think, is top tier, and I think there's not one that really blows the other one out of the water besides the OnePlus 8 Pro's RAM. Other than that, both phones are extremely good in my opinion. So in terms of performance, that pretty much covers it. Now hitting on the cameras, this is where things are super confusing to me, at least. So the OnePlus 8 Pro has a quadruple camera setup, so does the S20 Ultra. We have a 48 megapixel wide angle lens on the OnePlus 8 Pro, 8 megapixel telephoto lens, 48 megapixel ultra wide sensor, then a 5 megapixel depth sensor. With the S20 Ultra, we have a 108 megapixel wide angle lens, 48 megapixel periscope telephoto lens, 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor, then a 0.3 megapixel depth sensor. Now the camera and camera quality and everything, I would definitely side with the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. That one has the better camera setup. You have a ton of features in there. You have the 100 times zoom, which is crazy. So for sure, when it comes down to it, the S20 Ultra has the better camera for sure. And you also have the capability of shooting 8K videos, which is insane, where the OnePlus 8 Pro only tops out at 4K. Now, most probably you're never going to use that, but just having the capability of doing so really does speak mountains, and it's a really cool thing at the end of the day. Both cameras, I think, are great. The OnePlus 8 Pro's camera wasn't even that awesome, if I'm being honest. I think it's good, but I don't think it's like the best camera ever. I think it's good and great, but the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra's camera, in my opinion, is probably the better one when it comes down to it. But again, that's my opinion. It doesn't mean it's right. On the front, a 16 megapixel sensor on the OnePlus 8 Pro, 40 megapixel sensor on the S20 Ultra. You have the capability of shooting 4K at 60 on the S20 Ultra, where you can only do 1080p on the OnePlus 8 Pro. So that's another small thing. Like, it really just depends what you're up to, whether you like it or not. In my opinion, definitely when it comes down to it, the S20 Ultra has a better camera for sure. Now ending it off with the battery life, you have a 5,000 mAh battery on the S20 Ultra, but a 4,510 mAh battery on the OnePlus 8 Pro. Both have great battery life, both have wireless charging, both have reverse wireless charging, which is really cool. But the battery life is probably better on the S20 Ultra if I'm being honest. Both phones have really good battery life, but the S20 Ultra definitely has the advantage of having the better battery life for sure. So to kind of sum up the video and answer the question, which one should you pick up? I'll be completely honest. I think, spending the money on S20 Ultra is extremely wise of you, maybe. I think it's a very compelling phone and has a lot going for it. Great performance, great hardware, great everything, great cameras. But I do think it's still kind of expensive for what it is. The OnePlus 8 Pro is substantially cheaper, and I think that might be the better way to go for a lot more people. And I'm not saying that the OnePlus 8 Pro is the best phone or anything like that, but if the S20 Ultra was a 10 out of 10, the OnePlus 8 Pro, I think for my needs, would end up being like a 9 out of 10 or 9.5 out of 10. I think it does almost everything that I needed to do. It's just the S20 Ultra has the more capabilities at the end of the day. So between both, the S20 Ultra is probably the better phone, but the OnePlus 8 Pro is still a very good phone. There's really nothing to hate on it. So that really pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that means so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, all those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys would check it out. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.